What's up, dudes? I'm the Dominicator, and in this video I'm going to hypnotize you to bark like a dog. So, just like in all of my videos, you will be asked to leave a comment at the end while hypnotized, so go ahead and log into an account that you can use for that, and mute any distractions, and continue when you're ready to get hypnotized. Alright, dudes, so to begin, then just look at the pocket watch in front of you, and as you look at the watch, the more that you do, the more that it draws your attention, your eyes, and your gaze into it. As you watch it, as it goes back and forth, the more that it does with each and every single swing, the more that you feel a wonderfully heavy and relaxing feeling that just washes over you, over your mind, and over your eyes. And it just feels so good at the same time. And as you listen to the sound of my voice, the more that you do, the more that you feel the drip and drop of a relaxing heaviness that just drips and drops on top of your mind. A wonderful, wonderful smoothness that just helps you to glide into an even more relaxed state. That just feels so good. And it just feels so wonderfully and pleasantly relaxing. The more that you just look at the pocket watch, and the more that you just listen to the sound of my voice, the more that you can feel such a wonderful, warm and masculine, dominant tone from it that just wraps around you just like a blanket. The more that you just listen to the sound of my voice, the more that you feel that wonderful drip and drop of heaviness and pleasantness. It just makes you want to go down, to drop down, to sink down, and to snap down into an even deeper and even more relaxed state. And whenever I click my fingers together and I say the word sleep, then you will go down into that state. It will just feel so wonderful. It'll just feel so wonderful. And that feeling of heaviness just collapsing down on top of your mind, just crashing on top of you, taking you down into an even more relaxed and even more passive state of sleep. Now that would just feel so good that you can already feel a feeling of pulling and drawing feeling from that sleep which is calling you down even right now. But as you keep your eyes open, and the longer that you do, the longer that you feel the heaviness as it builds up inside of your eyelids, the feeling of that heaviness building up inside of your mind, it will just feel so good to let go of, and just to release all of that stress and all of that tension, just to drop down in an instant into that state. You'll feel a wonderful and a happy feeling as you just drop down, all in that moment. It will just feel so good. All the wonderful feelings of the stress and the tension melting out of each and every single muscle in your body as you just plop down into an even deeper, an even more relaxed state of sleep. Now that will just feel so good. That will just feel so good that you can already imagine a wonderfully relaxed and mind-melted state of sleep, even right now, as it continues just to pull you down, just to draw you down into it even further. The feeling of heaviness building up so much in the eyelids, the feeling of heaviness building up so much in the mind that you can hardly even contain. The feeling of sleepiness and the feeling of restfulness inside of you, each and every single nerve in your body just yearning even more for the wonderful, wonderful, relaxing release of that deep and that profound sleep. It would just feel so wonderfully good, just to relax every single muscle inside of the body, just to relax every nerve inside of your mind. That will just feel so good. And in that moment, whenever I click my fingers together, then that is exactly what will happen, as you feel the wonderful release of that stress and tension all right now. And now sleep, as you just go down, drop down, then sink down into an even more relaxed and even more passive state of mind. Now that just feels so good. The wonderful feeling of that warm, masculine, dominant texture of my voice just wrapping around your mind even more and even more tightly. It just feels so good just to relax, just to melt down into it. The more that you do, the more that you feel a feeling, a wonderfully submissive feeling. It's as if you are turning and morphing and twisting into a pet for me, just like you're turning and morphing and twisting into a dog even right now. The feeling of being a pet for your master, that just feels so good. The wonderful feeling of submissiveness that you feel just flowing throughout your body and throughout your mind, that just gives you, it just leaves you with a wonderful and happy pleasantness. A wonderful and happy and pleasant feeling that just courses all through your body, all through your mind. It just feels so good to be a pet for your master. The more that you are, And the more that you feel that morphing, twisting, turning feeling into a dog and into a pet for your master, well, the better and better that you feel. It just feels so good having such a powerful and dominant master and to follow and to obey. The more that you think of it, the more excited that you are to feel this morphing, shifting, and turning feeling, this transformation into a dog for your master. The more that you think of it, the more excited that you become for it. The more that you feel a feeling inside of you, a feeling inside of your body, a feeling inside of your vocal cords, even right now. A morphing, a shifting feeling. It's just as if there's a spring-loaded mechanism inside of your throat, a kind of wind-up toy that is just being wound up right now. A kind of wind-up toy inside of you that is just being wound up right now, and that whenever I snap my fingers and I say the word bark, it just goes off just like that. And that's the trigger. Whenever I snap my fingers and I say the word bark, then it just goes off just like that. Then, and the bark of a dog will just escape from you, just like that. The bark of a dog, you'll just feel it as it comes out of your mouth, as it just comes out of your throat. You can even just imagine it right now. The feeling of a strange and peculiar feeling that just takes you over. It just seems to take over your vocal cords. It just seems to take over your mouth. It just seems to cause that barking noise just to be expelled right out of you. And the more that you just listen to the sound of my voice, the more that you can feel the winding feeling, the feeling of a spring-loaded tension, of a wind-up toy that continues to be wound up even more with each and every single word I say. It builds up so much energy that you feel even a desire to just expel that bark. You can feel it as it winds up even more now. It will just feel so good whenever I click my fingers together, just to bark, just like that. That will feel so good as you'll feel a wonderful rush of pleasantness that just washes over you. That just washes over you as you feel the awesome and wonderful feeling of having a master to follow and to obey and to bark for. That will just feel so good as you just bark right now. As you bark, that just feels so good. The wonderful feeling of that bark escaping from you, from your mouth, from your throat. It just makes you feel even more like a good and obedient dog for your master. And that just feels so good. The wonderful wash of pleasantness that just courses through your body, through your mind, as you're called a good dog. That just feels so good. It feels so good. It just makes you want to bark on command even more. And that just feels so good. Just to be called a good dog by your master. The more that you're called a good dog by your master, the more that you feel just so good, so nice, so tail-waggingly happy. That just feels so good just to bark even more for your master. Well, you can even try to resist barking, but the more that you try to resist, the more that you feel the wound up, the built up energy inside of your body that just builds up and winds up that barking noise. As you even might try to resist and barking, as you just bark instead, the more that you bark, the more that you feel that wonderful, awesome, and powerful, masculine, dominant feeling of your master and of your master's control. And that just feels so good. The wonderful feeling of your master. And the more that you feel that, the more then it just makes you want to obey your master. The more then it just makes you want to become even more of a good dog for your master. And so you will become even more of a good dog for your master as you just drift off into a nice puppy headspace for a while after you leave a comment that says, "Yes, master, I will be a good dog for you, master." That will just feel so good, leaving that comment. Now, then, after you do, then your mind, your head will just drift into a dog-like and a puppy-like headspace, from which you'll come out naturally after a while. And when you do, it will just feel so good, just to know that you have had such a powerful, dominant master that you followed and obeyed. And it just feels so good, being a good dog for your master. Bark. And the more that you do, just follow and obey your master, and the less and less that you even have to think about it at all. It just feels so good, just to follow and to obey your master, and not even thinking about it at all, as you just bark, and just like a good dog. Now then, in a little while, I'm going to count you from 1 to 3, and as I count you from 1 to 3, then you'll feel a wonderfully happy, lifting, rising, floating feeling that will just take you back up into a nice and puppy headspace, in which you'll leave that comment, a comment that says, "Yes, master, I will be a good dog for your master." And after you leave that comment, you'll drift off into a nice, wonderful dog-like puppy headspace. It will just feel so good, being a good dog for your master. Now, beginning with 1, as you feel the beginnings of that lifting, rising, floating feeling, taking you back up. And now 2, coming up even more, just feeling so great. And now 3, eyes open. A good dog for your master. Bark. Alright dudes, check out Dominicator.com to schedule a session with me to get hypnotized. Catch you later dudes.